You're listening to How to 20-something, the best podcast that helps both men and women navigate their 20s and learn how to adult across all aspects of their lives. We're going to focus on career, relationships, finances, fitness, nutrition, and all of the common challenges and obstacles a typical 20-something will face in this post-college life. I'm your host, Jess Diamond, and I am the CEO and founder of Jess Diamond Coaching, where I help young professionals get their shit together, gain their confidence, and own their life. No one prepares you for this adulting world, so allow me to help you feel like you are no longer a chicken running around with its head cut off, and that you actually know what the hell is going on and what your next step to take is. Welcome to How to 20-something. Welcome back to How to 20-something, where today's episode is on your identity. And without scaring you away, it's actually to highlight why you feel so out of place in your own life. Whether it's because you moved back to your hometown and it's the same but not the same, so you're learning how to shake off the younger version of you even though you have constant reminders pulling you back, or because you had some unexpected setbacks that has changed your trajectory and you're trying to figure out who you are now as a result, like getting diagnosed with a chronic illness, losing your job, going through a breakup, things that make you feel like you took 10 million steps in the opposite direction you were originally planning on heading. It could even be from the overarching comparison of where your peers are at in life versus where you're at and the milestones you thought you'd reach by now. I've been having a lot of conversations lately about identity, and it's some deep coaching work for sure, but it's so helpful when it comes to setting goals and realistic expectations for this current phase of your life. Because if you don't take the time to learn who you are right now, you're going to constantly feel behind or lost or upset and that your life is in shambles. And that's not what any of this means. You feel out of place in your life because what you're experiencing is all brand new. You're molding into this new version of yourself who is unfamiliar, but it's all a natural progression through adulthood, where you probably had a vision in mind of what you would be doing or where you would be at this point in your life, and when the vision doesn't become a reality, you feel lost because there is a mismatch between expectations and reality. Right now, regardless of what's causing it, you are outgrowing an old version of yourself, and that's scary. And because everything around you is changing, it's like your brain didn't get the memo when it's playing catch up. I think your environment plays a major role in this identity shift, and so does your community. For example, if you are someone who moved back to the town you grew up in, or roughly close to that area where you didn't really have to learn the names of big streets or how to get on the interstate, and home is like a 40-minute or less commute away, you're going to feel disoriented. It doesn't matter if this move happened right after college, if you moved right back into your parents' house, or if this is something that happened later in your 20s. The feeling is all the same. You're back home, but you're not back home at the same time. It's like you somehow expected everything to press pause while you were gone and pick right back up when you returned, and obviously that is not how life works. So you're gone for X number of years and come back to things being the same and brand new at the same time, which is incredibly confusing. Your friends you grew up with aren't all there anymore, if at all, so you now have to learn how to make new friends in an area you grew up in. You're constantly being reminded of things from your childhood, even if it was your senior year of high school, so you have this pull to resort to childhood tendencies, and it's like your childlike identity is fighting this new adult identity. It leaves you feeling stuck, if not a little trapped. I have two friends who moved out of state after college and found themselves back in their hometown, intentionally, a few years later. And by hometown, I mean like 1 or 2 towns over from where they grew up and their parents still reside. One friend adjusted fairly well with making new friends and trying to navigate family boundaries, and the other friend has had a hard time getting herself to do anything besides go to work and go home. And her reasoning is it feels weird. And it's because it is weird. You're balancing trying to hold on to your memories, if not recreate them, while also trying to make new ones, find new interests, and explore adult you. It's pulling you in two different directions, creating chaos in your brain. And it's why you feel out of place, because you're not quite settled in this new adulting season, and you're still shedding older parts of you. So it leaves you thinking, who am I? Because you're not the person you were when you left your hometown, but there are these constant reminders surrounding you of who you used to be everywhere you go. And if you're someone who is having a hard time adjusting into this next chapter, there's a really good chance you're questioning what you're doing with your life. You're questioning this decision, what you're doing, the direction you're taking your life, everything. And right now, your adult life isn't what you thought it would be. You're outgrowing things you used to love to do. You're seeking out new experiences, but they keep creeping back to the mundane of what used to be, like driving along the same streets, going to the same restaurants, seeing your family regularly in your childhood home, your childhood bedroom, your childhood memories. And I'm not telling you all of this to stress you out or to remind you of where you're at in your life right now, but to normalize what you're experiencing so now you can relax into this transition. Acknowledge that it's going to feel weird. And then explore what matters to you right now. What is your definition of success right now? And what is no longer a good fit for you? Because those answers are going to change with each new transition you enter. So answer them for yourself right now, the today you. For example, success right now, if you're someone who just graduated college, could look like landing a full-time job. If you're someone who has a job already, then success might look like getting a promotion you're after. If you're someone who feels really good about your career, then success might look like having friends to go do things with, or a healthy relationship, or owning a house. Because everyone wants success. But what that means for the individual is going to vary. You need to identify what your definition is right now, within, say, the next 6 months to a year. But overall, I would say returning home is one reason why you feel out of place in your 20s. The other reason is if you weren't where you thought you'd be. You had some kind of setback that is throwing off all the plans and goals you were originally working towards. Whether it was a breakup with the person you thought you were going to marry and now you're fighting for your life in the dating scene. It could be health problems. I know so many people who have been diagnosed with some kind of chronic illness in their late 20s that is throwing a wrench in what they originally thought their body was capable of and therefore their lifestyle. It could be losing your job, and now you're contemplating completely switching career paths. It could be that you haven't gotten a job yet and you graduated almost a year ago. Regardless of the situation you found yourself in, you're not where you thought you'd be. Again, a mismatch of expectations versus reality. So now your identity has to learn to switch into this new reality that you did not see coming and adjust accordingly, which is far easier said than done. Here's what not to do when you're feeling out of place. Do not make rash decisions. That looks like date the first person that bats an eye towards you because you're lonely. Say yes to the first place to give you a job even though it's not ideal. Find a new apartment in a new city to move to. Set your life on fire and start over. Because here's the truth. You cannot outrun internal transitions with rash external decisions. You need to slow down, take a breath, and throw your ego out the window. This is about understanding yourself better and the place you're in right now, knowing this isn't where you're going to be for forever. You're out of place because you're in transition. Kind of like being in the in-between, only a little different in that it's your identity that is being pulled. And there's no how-to on this. There's no direction or structure or boxes to check, which is foreign, since you've gone your whole life with some kind of structure or plan laid out for you. You always knew what was next, and then you graduated, and you're left with this empty canvas where it feels like everyone was given some instruction on what to draw, and you're left trying to guess what to create, and if you're wrong, you fail. And you're not failing. You're not in crisis. You're unsettled and a bit disoriented in yourself. Everything is changing. Your environment, circumstances, responsibilities, roles, and there is a lag with your own brain. it's still operating with old information, old goals, old expectations, old definitions, old timelines, with all of the new things going on. New roles, new versions of yourself, new people, new routines. So there's a quiet tension within yourself. Part of you know things are changing, and you're probably excited about these changes. And then the other part of you is still trying to operate like nothing is changing. So not only is your brain confused, but your entire existence feels that way. It's why you're probably feeling so exhausted or reactive to things. You're more stressed out simply because you don't quite know your own place yet. Then throw in that invisible pressure to have it all figured out or to be doing what other people around you are doing. Which, if that's the case, here's what I want to tell you. Feeling out of place in your own life does not mean you're doing anything wrong. I mean, sure, there might be some systems you need to work on to fine-tune some of the processes that you're doing to feel like you again, but you didn't make a wrong decision that got you to where you're at right now. You're simply in a transition, and transitions are meant to be unstable. Remember, the only constant in life is change. That doesn't mean you're always going to be in some kind of transition or change, but it does mean that you can expect it around pretty much every corner. This kind of transition, a transition within your own identity, takes time. And all you can really do is learn to sit with this discomfort and, of course, create plans for yourself to help mold you into this new version, not just let it happen on its own accord. But this is a totally natural part of your 20s, and it's going to happen in more ways than one as you grow through this decade. Just don't panic about it. Welcome this new piece of you that you're working on building and getting to know. This episode felt very short, but I guess it's because I don't really have a ton of instruction for you to feel in a certain place in your 20s, because that's never going to happen. You're learning so much throughout this decade, and it's time to learn how to adjust to these changes and to these learning experiences and these hardships that you're going to encounter, maybe even multiple different types of setbacks, and learn from it. It's complicated. I know this is how to 20-something, but truth is, this is, like I said, not a how-to. This is a recognize what's happening and learn to sit with it. So that's how I'm going to end this episode. I want to thank you for listening to yet another episode of How to 20-something. And if you liked what you heard, if you felt seen, if you know someone who needs to hear this, then please share this podcast, post it on social media, send it to a friend. You know the drill. Just help me grow this thing to help all of the 20-somethings in this entire world navigating the most confusing decade of their lives. And as always, I can't wait to be in your headphones again next week with another brand new episode.